One of the many unique features of Monteverde is all the different forest types that can be found here, as well as the amazing birds that are housed here, like the quetzal and the three-wattled bellbird. You may have noticed that as you hike up higher into the forest, the types of trees, plants, and animals change the higher you go. This is because if you start in Los Llanos, or Bajo del Cementerio, and walk all the way up to the Continental Divide, you are passing from pre-montane wet forest to cloud forest. The climate gets cooler and wetter the higher up you walk, which favors different plants and animals. Here is naturalist guide Ricardo Guindon to describe the differences in Monteverde's forests.
Well, certainly the first area protected was the cloud forest, where we have the highest level of endemism of species that are unique. But biologists became aware that not all of the creatures, and particularly some of the birds that are in the cloud forest, spend their entire life in the cloud forest. Some have altitudinal migrations, and part of those migrations go down into the pre-montane forest that's below the cloud forest. And that area is all used to be farmland, private property, and so fragmented, a little more fragmented forest patches. And so efforts have been done to protect some of those.
Quetzals, bellbirds, guans, and toucans are particularly aware of these changes in elevation because during June, July, and August, their favorite fruits, different kinds of wild avocados or aguacatillos, are mainly found below the cloud forest in the pre-montane wet forest. One of these avocados is a favorite food of the bellbird. It is a species in the avocado family called Ocotea Monteverdensis and can be found only in the pre-montane wet forest in Monteverde. Did you know that there are only about 770 mature Ocotea Monteverdensis trees left on the planet?
Ocotea Monteverdensis is found principally in this this pre-montane belt below the cloud forest, and being endemic and unique just to this mountain range, that makes this species particularly at risk, and being a very important source of food for these species of birds during part of the year. They feed principally on members of the avocado family, and even though they will feed on other kinds of fruits, that's their preferred food, and so they come down to take advantage of that food abundance during part of their annual life cycle. Even though there are various different species of wild avocados, apparently this species that's endemic just to of Ocotea, that's endemic just to Monteverde, this mountain range, seems to be particularly light.
Though there are many protected forests in Monteverde, most of the old pre-montane wet forests that are most utilized by these large fruit-eating birds in June, July, and August are not protected, unfortunately.
Not only are there differences between pre-montane wet and cloud forests, another way to distinguish forests is primary and secondary, or old growth and young growth. As you may know, much of the forest was cleared for pasture by settlers, both Ticos and Quakers, between 1940 and 1980, resulting in thousands of hectares of deforestation.
Well, some things are positive in the sense that that with the change from agriculture, and particularly dairy farming, to tourism, then we have fewer active farms. Deforestation was going on when I was a child, and one of the early sounds that I remember was the sound of the chainsaw, my dad cutting down more trees to make more pasture land. That has pretty much stopped, and areas have been allowed to return. So in some respects, Monteverde has become more forested than it was when I was younger.
Later on, more effort was focused on tourism, and much of the forest that had been cut down for pastures was replanted. Today, there is a lot of regrowth in these secondary forests, though many of the fruiting trees that the iconic birds like to eat still aren't mature enough to produce fruit.
What does this mean for the birds?
Quetzals, bellbirds, and black guans in this area have always been dependent on the premontane wet forest. With decreases in fruit in cloud forest and the Caribbean after May, birds need to migrate down to premontane wet forest during June and July because historically, there has been more fruit there. Ocotea Monteverdensis is an important part of premontane wet forest, and all fruiting avocado species in this zone have declined. Even where this is a fair amount of forest in the premontane wet, much of it is young forest and does not fruit until it reaches an older age. There is still old forest that badly needs protection.